And welcome to the good, the bad, and the podcast, the show where we take a given movie genre and we explore those examples that are beneficent to our sensibilities, that absolutely malign us, and those ugly examples that are so perverse we can't help but grab a snifter of brandy and watch them to the very end. Hello, everyone. I am Mark.
Hey, I'm Kelley.
And I'm Charles.
Oh, and this tea is exceptionally good today as we explore. Kelley, what were your picks?
Oh, well, okay. So my picks for this episode, beautiful intro, by the way, Mark. That was
Thank
glorious.
you. Thank you.
Um, tonight we're going to be talking about KEIRA KNIGHTLey period pieces, and the picks are Atonement from 2007, Silk, also from 2007, and Anna Karenina from 2012.
Good show, good show. I promise you won't have to listen to my terrible, not quite British accent for much longer.
I live for your impersonations, Mark.
These were good. I like these picks. I like Keira Knightley. Obviously, we did Pirates of the Caribbean, which is another one of hers. So I'm excited.
Well, and it's interesting because I was kind of looking at her, her filmography on IMDb, and I would say at least half of them are period pieces. Like it's maybe even more than half. It's kind of crazy, and I was trying to think about why that is. Like, is it her look? Is it? And I think I know we're going to talk about Silk second, but I think it has a lot to do with her accent. She has kind of that posh accent, that the British accent that I guess Americans especially associate with that kind of period. So it fits in really nicely with these period pieces. In Silk, she did more of an American accent, and I think that was problematic. So I don't know. We'll see. But that's my take on it. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, it really is amazing. I do think, I don't know what it is about her look, but I do think her look is a part of it. She just has this kind of uncanny ability to blend into a variety of different periods because, you're right, she has so many period pieces, but they're not all Victorian. They're from just a wide variety. And so it's like she's kind of a chameleon. I mean, she is obviously a modern woman today. Like, she does some really great stuff today, but she just fits in so many different eras. And so it's kind of an indefinable quality. I really don't know what it is about her, but she does it so well. She's an amazing actress. And this was a really, really hard topic to choose just 3 movies for, because there's a lot that I would want to talk about. And so that's partially why it took me 8 months to announce my picks.
Well, and you said also that if we hadn't covered Pride and Prejudice, that would be your top one. Is that correct? Does that still stand?
Yes.
Okay.
It would, and I want to get that out of the way. I mean, if anybody out there listening to this has not already checked out episode 58, our podcast over classic fiction adaptations, you should definitely do so. We talk about Pride and Prejudice at length during that episode. So we just did that so recently. I didn't want to go into the whole ball of wax all over again, but I thought it would be fun just to take a quick 2-3 minutes, to talk about some of our favorite things about Pride and Prejudice. If you guys want to.
Sure. And also, I was going to say that it's pretty interesting that 2 of the movies you picked are from the same director, Joe Wright. So I wonder if part of it is you like her in his movies. Perhaps. We'll see. I mean, it could be that you hate her in one of these. I don't know. So go ahead. Yeah, let's talk about Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah. So Pride and Prejudice, I almost, spoiler alert, for episode 58, it was my good pick for classic fiction adaptations. I almost feel like it is so good that it's almost indisputable. Like we've just been talking about, she has so many good period pieces, but I would be hard pressed to believe someone who said that there was a better example of a Keira Knightley period piece than Pride and Prejudice. It works on every level. She was perfect as Elizabeth Bennet. The score was amazing. The direction was amazing. Her supporting cast was fantastic. I mean, obviously it helps when you have a great source for your material, but it's just a really beautiful movie. It all these Victorian novels, like they're adapted so frequently in cinema, but I feel like that stands the test of time as one of the best, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
I agree. I really liked it. But also, I mean, I liked her in Pirates of the Caribbean. I count that as a period piece, and I love that movie. I mean, it's not per se her movie, but I love it.
Charles, may I inquire, are you drinking a White Russian while we, as a preemptive to our discussion about
So,
Russian
well, it's funny you
literature?
mentioned that, Kelley. I was just checking my Facebook to make sure I had shared the live feed. I was like, oh no, that's the feed from last episode, or the Bond episode.
You know, I figured I'd get some mileage out of this. That was a different podcast. You know,
Yeah.
Probably the next one I'll do it in is the one with Topher. A couple weeks.
For the record,
Go
we
for
do
it,
not
man.
film these back to back. That White Russian is probably still, it's not still good, Charles.
Respect.
No, I was going to
I
say,
beg
so
to differ, sir.
Keira Knightley, I didn't quite give my piece about what makes her so good in these period pieces, but especially in Pride and Prejudice, she has this, when it comes to the Victorian era stuff, she has this like frail, kind of frail body type, even bone structure, but it's filled with such strength of personality and of like conviction, and so she's got like this wiry strength about her that I think the Victorians kind of favored in their novels. So I think she fits perfectly with Elizabeth Bennet's character, who, you know, the scene that grabbed me the most out of the novel was her marching all the way down to the manor to grab her sister, who, you know, made up this excuse to stay overnight or to stay there, you know, to protect her sister, and just that the strength of spirit really comes through. In fact, it's hard to imagine Keira Knightley as a modern woman. Like it's hard because I haven't seen her much in terms of interviews and stuff, but it's hard to imagine that she actually exists in our time period because she's so.
I agree with that, and I, you know, I mean, I loved her in Love Actually, and I liked her in well, I don't know, I don't actually remember how I felt about her character. We in the Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. I remember.
Yeah.
I think I was actually kind of mixed about that movie. I don't remember what I said about her, but like that's another one where she's very, very modern in that one. So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, even despite those movies, I agree with you, Mark. I picture her in these Victorian period pieces.
Yeah, she was good in that movie, the End of the World movie, but thinking back on it, there was some dissonance there, some cognitive dissonance with her in a modern role that I hate when people get typecast, but it's hard not to typecast her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's what you get for doing too good a job.
Yeah,
and I keep thinking of her that movie we saw with Brad Pitt, where his wife was a spy or whatever, or they thought she was a spy. I keep thinking that's Keira Knightley in that movie. I know it's not. But that's all I could picture in that movie. So
that's funny.
So
the sexy sandstorm.
Yes, that's right. For those who don't know, Kelley and I just went to see that movie, and we were the only two people in the audience. And
it was a good time.
And it's one of those ones where we eat, and so we the guy brought one check, and I was like, oh, actually, we're splitting this check, and I never.
Charles was the cheapest date of all time.
Yeah, it's like cheap. Was it
like
a date?
$3 fries or something.
The guy gave me the craziest look. Like, are you serious, man?
Would you like the free waters put on yours or hers, sir?
I think that came up. I'm not gonna lie.
Do we want to get into the official picks?
So we're talking about Atonement first.
Yeah, let's talk about Atonement first.
Okay.
Are we doing the original version or the sock puppet?
Well,
you definitely need to mention that.
Both. Yeah.
That was
Kelley
fantastic.
sent us a sock puppet version that had me in stitches. It was great.
Me too. I love it.
I was gonna say real quick before we really get into it. I do want to talk about stuff, but are we gonna tell what we think as far as Mark and I?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I was gonna say Mark, kind of in a group text, he already said what he thought about Silk, so that's kind of out of the bag.
Yeah. So I watched Anna Karenina first and loved it, and I thought, okay, this could definitely be good, but I knew Atonement was up for a bunch of awards, I thought, and I heard a lot of good stuff about that. So I watched Atonement, and I was like, oh man, Atonement's probably her good. I think Anna Karenina is her ugly. And then Silk, I just couldn't hold back. I watched Silk, like, this is terrible, because it was so clearly worse than both of the others that I've got to be right about, at least about that. Charles, what do you think?
So which one do you think is which, though? You think Silk is the bad?
Yeah, Anna Karenina ugly, Atonement good, and Silk bad.
I'll agree with you, but that for what I think Kelley picked. Having said that, though, I see two pretty good movies and one average to bad movie here. I don't really see an ugly. So I think you and I might be in perfect agreement on that, actually, Mark. Like it's hard for me to say which one's going to be the good one for Kelley in this case, because both of those movies got pretty good reviews. They were both nominated for stuff. I think Atonement got slightly better reviews, so if we're following what the critics say, I'll say that's probably Kelley's good, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I didn't hate any of these movies, though.
Okay. All right.
I think, oh man, I think if I had to rate them, I would prefer Anna Karenina, but so I'm excited to have this discussion.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't disagree with you. Actually, I don't disagree with you on that, Mark.
Yes,
I
Charles
You
and
don't
I
disagree.
Charles and I are
Okay.
But I cut you off earlier, Kelley. Please, I do want to hear about the sock puppets.
Oh, the sock puppets. Okay, so in 2007 when Atonement came out, I saw it in the theaters in like this awesome art house theater with several of my closest college friends, and I remember it so fondly. And we went to see the movie together, and then I don't even remember how one of us found the sock puppet video, but one of us did. And we watched it like 100 times, and we cracked up every single time because it's just so good. It's like a 3 or 5 minute sock puppet parody of Atonement, and I want you to watch it, but don't watch it before you watch the movie Atonement, because there are big spoilers in it. So watch the movie first, then watch the sock puppet thing. I think it's just called SockTube Presents Sock Puppet Atonement or something like that. Just Google it, you'll find it.
I didn't realize it was
it's
that
hilarious.
old. That's funny. It came out when the movie came. Okay.
Yep. Or shortly thereafter, yeah.
It's cool.
So-
I really enjoyed it.
All right, should we do the Atonement synopsis?
Yes, we should.
Okay. So Atonement, 13-year-old fledgling writer Bryony Tallis irrevocably changes the course of several lives when she accuses her older sister's lover of a crime he did not commit.
And here is the trailer.
See, why don't you talk to Robin?
I do. I just move in different circles, that's all.
Dear Cecilia, you'd be forgiven for thinking me mad. The truth is, I feel rather lightheaded and foolish in your presence, and I don't think I can blame the heat.
Running!
Do you think you could do me a favour? Run ahead and give this to C.
Good heavens, you're blushing.
Celia! You ought to call the police.
You saw him?
Yes, I saw him. I know it was him.
You know it was him?
I saw him with my own eyes. I love you. Come back to me.
They gave me a choice. Stay in prison or join the army.
My darling, I love you. I'll wait for you.
But no matter how hard I work, I can't escape from what I did and what it meant.
The story, what's it about? A young girl who sees something which she doesn't understand, but she thinks she does.
I will return. I will find you.
I'm very, very sorry for the terrible distress that I've caused.
James McAvoy. KEIRA Knightley. Atonement.
And that was Atonement, or the original 3-part word at one mint. I always like that word, to be at one with something. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So, pretty good movie, I think. Kelley, what is this? Is good, bad, ugly?
This is my good pick.
All
You
right,
were
we were right.
correct. So,
Okay.
Atonement. I really love this movie. I don't know if I could say, I mean, obviously I don't love it quite as much as Pride and Prejudice, but it's just so good. I don't feel like it's 2 hours, but the time goes really quickly for me, despite the fact that it's a little bit of a slow burn. I mean, there are war sequences, there are sequences where a lot of action is happening and just focuses on the score and about longing looks between characters, and but I mean, my eyeballs are glued to the screen the entire time. I mean, I get in a habit, I guess, of rewatching it every couple years, and and every single time, like, I know how much I like it, but every single time I watch it, I'm like reminded anew how much it just blows me away. I really like Keira Knightley's performance in it. It's fairly subdued, but I love James McAvoy in it. I'm actually really surprised and disappointed that he didn't get any awards, or at least any Oscar nominations for it. Because I think he's such a great actor anyway, but he's just so good in this. All the emotion he puts forward, all the characters do, really. Saoirse Ronan, this is the first thing that I saw her in, and now she's since kind of exploded, and now she's been nominated for several Oscars, I think, and she recently did Lady Bird and Little Women, and
I believe she was nominated for this, if I'm not mistaken, for supporting.
She didn't win, but she was nominated, and I was happy about that. This was nominated for 7 Oscars, and it only won original score, which I don't know. There was some tough competition that year. I mean, there was No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood, a few other really awesome movies. So it's hard to say, like, oh, this should have definitely won. But I mean, there were a lot of categories that I thought, like, I very biasedly thought that it should have won. But the score, like, I do want to talk about the score. There's all these. The concept of letter writing and story writing is very pervasive throughout, and so the score has all of these keystrokes in it on a typewriter, and it's just woven into everything really nicely, and it's very, very cool. The piano, the violin, it's just beautiful. It just makes your teeth hurt. This is the kind of movie that you just swoon while you're watching it, like almost literally swoon. But what do you guys think?
I could take it or leave it. I'm kidding. It was really
dang it,
well
Mark.
Done. Well, the thing that I like the most, that stuck out to me, is the storytelling in terms of the chronology. And you could really fail at doing that kind of thing where they jump back and forth in time. We start with Briony and we see what she sees of the incident in the fountain, and then we go back and see it from Keira Knightley. And then at the very end of the movie, there's a huge jump forward, but all of it's so seamlessly tied together that they really pull it off. And I've seen it done very poorly in other movies in the past where it just is super jarring. So I love that. And I think it deserves the award for the best score, because the music was, and I love the typewriter sound. In fact, I got my typewriter here next to me, but I won't. If I do it on the table, it'll sound like a explosion. The casting for the older Briony, for the middle one, the 18-year-old, was perfect. I mean, they looked exactly the same, the young Briony and the teenage one, and even the author at the end, the not old, I almost said ancient, that's really horrible, the elderly one at the end. I couldn't come up with the politically correct word,
but that's a red mark.
See, you said them all. Sorry. Ancient.
yeah. So I just even she was perfectly cast too. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely a great movie. And the war scenes, I love that long shot where they go through the entire the coast of, I don't know where they are even, what city that is.
That's Dunkirk. Well, that's Dunkirk. Yeah, they're showing them all being picked up off the beach.
Yeah, that was incredible just to see they set up all of the, like, the merry-go-round that was just ratted and torn down, and all these men, just hyper realistic.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it sounds like I'm not gonna like it as much as you guys did. Don't get me wrong, it's a good movie. I mean, are we getting into spoilers?
I don't really want to spoil, like really spoil it. We can.
Okay, well, I'll dance around it slightly then, because I don't always love, this type of narration. What's the word? I forget how to describe it.
Omniscience?
No, well, just where you don't always believe the narrator.
Oh, unreliable.
Unreliable narrator. That's it. Yeah. I don't always love that, and in this one so here's the deal. Like when it first came out, I was excited to see it, and my friend Sal actually saw it before I did, and he hated it, right? And I was like, well, why? What's wrong? And he's like, well, because they do the trick where it's like, okay, did it happen? Didn't happen? Some things are taken back. It's like they go back, and it's like he felt like he was cheated out of a movie in the sense. And so I avoided seeing it for the longest time. And when I finally saw it, I could see where he's coming from, and I did feel like that was a little bit of a cheat. But then again, I was expecting like the entire movie to be changed, and it really wasn't. It was just parts of it weren't real, and so I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a cheap trick slightly. I don't know. I didn't dig that part of it too much. I would have rather it been given some hope, because it makes it so bleak. And I know the thing is atonement, and that's kind of what she's doing at the end, but even so, I wish it would have just been real and they could have taken that element out of it.
I disagree with that, because I think the tone of it is dreamlike enough that I doubted what was happening as it was happening anyway. Like the scene, and this isn't a spoiler, the scene where she runs into that other guy she knows, and he had the head injury, and she's talking to him. And I was like, is this happening? Does she actually know him? Because I didn't recognize that it was...
That's a perfect example, though. When I was watching it, like, is that real, or is he just crazy and she's just pretending with him? Or is it really someone she knows? And I did not understand that scene at all. That was one that really confused me. And unfortunately, I think that's supposed to be a really important scene. I feel like it's kind of setting up for what happens. I don't know.
The way I interpreted it was, I don't think she knew him at all, and I don't think he knew her. I think he was just at death's door. He had that horrific brain injury. She was there to speak with him in his native French and make him feel a little better, and he was deluded that she was somebody else, some other girl, and she played along with him just to ease his last few moments. And
then she went to the woman he was actually talking about and told her, right? She went to visit, because he gave the girl's name at the bakery or something down the street, and she actually went and visited her.
Did she? I don't
remember
that. Or is that when she went to? Or is that? I think that's what I thought was happening. Maybe that's when she was going to see KEIRA KNIGHTLey.
But see, that's my problem with it. I feel like that was a really confusing thing. And if what Kelley and I are thinking really happened that way, because I agree with you, Kelley, that was my interpretation as well. If that's the case, then it's setting up that she's an unreliable narrator, because she's lying to him and going on with that story and easing him and trying to make it a better story than it really is.
See, I don't know. I don't see it that way. I don't see it as being really her doing it all. He's the one saying, "Oh, remember when we did this and that?" And she's like, "Uh-huh." And no, she doesn't. She's like trying to be nice, and it is a very poignant moment. It's kind of a turning point for her character, because she's very, like, she used to be so fanciful, as KEIRA KNIGHTLey called her, and then now it's like, these years later, being a nurse and seeing all these things has made her very practical, because she's trying to way overcorrect from how she used to be. And so she's like Romola Garrett, like she plays it perfectly. She's very wooden and very like, yes, no, but she softens a lot in that scene, I feel.
Well, and the second part of my point was, I don't feel cheated, because at the very end, we are told what was real and what wasn't real very explicitly, and given the reason why, and I think it was justified to me.
I don't know. It's just it really, they do tell you, but it's almost like a recap. It's like I don't know. I'm trying to think of what other movie I'm picturing that did that. It was like one movie where they were like recapping everything that happened, and it's like, oh, this didn't really happen this way, just like text. And I feel like that's kind of how it was. It's like the very end, just a quick thing. Oh yeah, that didn't really happen.
But what I found cool about the twist at the end, not to give it away, was that the scene that wasn't real didn't seem real to me at the time because of the way the characters were acting. I thought they were acting out of character, and that was significant because that's how Brienne felt they should act toward her, and that's not how they might have acted in that manner. So that was kind of cool. Looking back, I thought, oh, that's why it seemed out of place to me, because it was her writing it, and it was her own guilt, writing it probably more angry than it would have been.
I completely agree. That's a good point, Mark.
I can see that.
I could also see feeling cheated out of it. I've almost wanted to do some picks where we talk about movies with ambivalent endings, like what was the Dream Within the Dream movie? I can't think of the title now.
Inception.
Inception, at the very end. So I kind of, because some movies handle that better than others with ambivalence, but this one wasn't ambivalent, right?
No, it wasn't ambivalent. It's not. Yeah, I didn't consider it ambivalent. I just considered it a slight cheat. Oh, yeah. Not unlike Fight Club, where you had that narrator too, and it's like it's not really happening, or it might be happening, and I don't know. And you're right. Maybe it's one of those I need to go back and watch it again and again, and like maybe there are a lot of clues layered in there. Even one of the early scenes when she's looking out the window and she looks directly at the camera, I feel like that's kind of a wink and a nod, like this is going to be her interpretation of the story going forward. So yeah, maybe that's how I took it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I just feel like this is one of those movies where there are so many of those little moments that each person can interpret them differently. Everybody might take something away different from this movie. It's a personal film, I think, but for me, I really liked it. I get where you're coming from, Charles. I do, but for me, it didn't bother me.
Gotcha.
All right,
that was a very civil, proper discussion.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very Victorian of us.
Yes.
Shall we move on to, what is it? Anna Karenina? Or Silk next? Oh,
yeah.
Man. Dang. All right.
Okay.
Dang.
So
I like that.
Silk. I'm ready to tear this a new one.
I know you are.
The story of a married silkworm merchant turned smuggler in 19th century France, traveling to Japan for his town's supply of silkworms after a disease wipes out their African supply. During his stay in Japan, he becomes obsessed with the concubine of a local baron.
And here's the trailer.
What is it?
It's your garden and the house if you want it.
You know what this is? It's money. I'm going to repair the silk mill. I need you to go to Japan. They make the most perfect silk there. The journey's long and dangerous. All you have to do is bring back the eggs.
I cannot go.
You'll be back by spring.
There seems to be some trouble in Japan. It could be dangerous.
Who are you?
I am a man of trade, that is all.
She's quite something, isn't she?
When you leave here, you will have what you want. May we continue to trade in peace.
To our lasting friendship.
Do not be fooled by his kindness. There is a price for everything.
Japan is an ancient country. There are crimes here for which it is acceptable to condemn man to death. Now go and never return here again.
Come back, or I shall die.
They say it's chaos. It would be madness to go back there.
All right, Silk. Now, okay, before you tell us which one this is, Kelley, I guess you should tell us first and make sure. I want to make sure it's the bad pick.
Okay. It is my bad pick.
All right, all right.
Of course it is.
Okay, what I was gonna say is, and the podcast like this where we talk about a bad movie every episode, it's kind of easy to get into the rut of like, this is just terrible, but this movie, so the way I would describe the terribleness of this movie is it's like a smooth river on top and a current of just awfulness underneath the surface of this river, because it's kind of beautifully shot. There's a lot of good scenery. There's it doesn't seem, it's like an unassuming terrible movie. Like, it doesn't seem like it's that terrible. And at the end I was like, man, this was really a terrible movie and I enjoyed nothing about it. So Kelley, why is this your bad pick?
No, I completely agree. Honestly, this is one of the most visually stunning movies I can remember seeing in a while. Like, it is beautiful. I mean, the way it's shot is beautiful. Just the setting. I mean, it kind of is jaw-dropping, but there's so many things about it that just make you scratch your head and wonder why in the world they decided to do that way. Namely, is Michael Pitt, like, can he not do a French accent? Because because KEIRA Knightley and I'm just completely blanking on his name right now. Alfred Molina.
Yeah.
They both are British and they do a really convincing American accents, but they all have extremely French names. I think they're supposed to be in France, and so there's no reason why. Like, I don't know why they didn't just keep their British accents.
See, that bugs me too. I thought the same thing. It's like everybody it's a combination of British and American people doing American accents, fine. And again, this comes down to, as Americans, we're kind of used to, if it's going to be a foreign country, if they have British accents, we're okay with that. Like, I don't know why that is the case, but at least it's European in some sense, right? Whereas this one, it's like, I feel like giving KEIRA Knightley an American accent and just the way she played the character, you talk about subdued and Atonement, good Lord, she's comatose in this movie. And the accent is, it's a good American accent, but it does not fit her, and it does not help her be this 1860s period piece that it is. It made no sense. And I was like, well, you know, Moulin Rouge did a similar thing. Everybody in that had American accents, and combination of British and Australian and American people doing American accents, and that was set in Paris. Why did it work there? I don't know, but it just made everyone look bad, and I don't know what it is.
It's funny that you'll both always mention the accents, and I never pick up on that at all, which is, I don't know. I guess I should. I don't know why I don't. Maybe because I'm so terrible at them.
Well, in this case, I can't fault you for that, because their accents were well done, and so you don't, like, when they stick out, when they're bad, you notice them, but like when you don't notice them, that must mean they were okay.
They're great. Like, don't get me wrong. Alfred Molina's especially, like, I'm used to him, like, from Doc Ock anyway. It's a similar accent to that, but he is British, as we saw in Coffee and Cigarettes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like, they're good. They just feel weird in this context.
It's just, it's bizarre. Like, and their name, they don't change the names to make them less French to cover the fact that they're going with an American accent. His name is Hervé, and she's Hélène, and like, right, like, it's so weird, and I couldn't stop thinking about it while I was watching this.
I agree, Kelley, 100%. That's all I was thinking about in several of the scenes. Because I'd never heard of this movie before you brought it up for the podcast, and then I'm watching it, and I'm like, okay, she's gonna have a British accent. I don't know, Michael Pitt. Okay, he's got an American accent. Okay, great. But then she starts talking. I'm like, no, she doesn't. It's like, it's a very monotonous American accent. It doesn't even stand out to a specific region. It's just generic American. So anyway, that was odd. And
so I wasn't focused on the accents because I was so distracted by him narrating the entire movie, all of the places he was going and how long it took him to get there and how many silk eggs, he almost said a cuss word, how many silk eggs he brought back. And then he went again because some of the silk eggs were dead. And then it was really cold when he went the next time. And then there were not people that time. And then the concubine was there.
I agree.
Shoot me.
It felt 3 hours long because of all of those reasons. I mean, like, this was...
I don't know what it is, though, because, again, Moulin Rouge did the thing with the accents perfectly. Didn't have a problem with it here. And I've liked narration in other movies, even when they go this detailed. It's like,
well, but it was, so at the end, it was like they were doing her garden, like spoilers. They were doing, her garden after she had passed, and there's this random redheaded lanky kid that comes up. He's like, sit down. And it ended up he was telling this whole story to the kid. And at the end of the story, the kid's like, okay.
Wait a minute. He's not a random kid, though. Hold on. That's not a random kid.
Not a random kid. He's working on the garden. He enjoyed the garden that the KEIRA KNIGHTLey's character did.
He was kind of like their step kid almost.
Yeah. He started out in the movie, he was like 4, and he was this symbol of their infertility.
His dad left. His dad was depressed. Just stopped talking, and they couldn't have kids, and so that was a very important character.
See, okay, I missed that. I apologize, because I was kind of confused by the whole thing, because the first time he went, he said something was happening back home, and it must have been them adopting the kid you're talking about, or
well, I don't think they ever officially adopted, but the lady was pregnant, and then the lady's husband went into a depression, right, Kelley? Isn't that what they say? Like, the lady's husband stopped talking, kind of like how Michael Pitt eventually kind of stops talking, and he's kind of more, inward thinking about everything.
Right. Yeah, the kid didn't have a very good. Yeah, the father was absentee, like emotionally versus physically, whatever. But they like took him under their wing, and he was kind of like their god kid. And
I don't remember what happened to the mom, if the mom was still alive or not, but.
I don't know.
They didn't really. There were a lot of to your point though, Mark. There were a lot of things in this movie they don't explain, and I feel like they jump around and they don't. Yeah, like to give you another example, what the heck was Alfred Molina doing on the pool table? It was always the same shots. It seemed like was he trying to? I know they were talking about doing a one-handed shot, two-handed shot. Was it always the same setup? Because I never saw him make the shot, and yet it seemed like it was supposed to be metaphor or symbolic of something. Right?
Yeah, he said if he ever did it, he would leave, and then he did, but it didn't look like he made the shot one-handed. Right. I was confused by that. And so, but can we talk about the concubine? Because that's the whole point. And I didn't understand that either. So it seemed like
I agree with
it seemed like it was all about how we should be okay that this guy had an affair with this Japanese concubine who was actually Chinese. And then he comes home and like KEIRA KNIGHTLey forgives him or something, and she really wrote the letter in Japanese and had it like I don't get the moral of the story, or if there is one, or
I don't know. Because the entire time it seemed like he was happy with KEIRA KNIGHTLey. Like they seemed happy together. There was never a time when I felt like, oh, they're setting us up to be okay when he cheats, because there's all this tumultuous undercurrent in their relationship that there wasn't really. I mean, they struggled to have a child, but they seemed like they both were. He was supportive of, they were supportive of each other, and I didn't feel like I don't. It was just weird, and I didn't root for him to be with the concubine at all. She was in 2 scenes, and it just kind of went from 0 to 60 and came out of nowhere. And
she doesn't even have a name. She's listed as the girl in the credits.
Yeah, she's just, I don't know if she's supposed to just represent an idea of someone else or just represent sensuality or passion, but I feel like they were passionate together, like he and KEIRA KNIGHTLey. I don't get it either.
I agree with you in the sense that they didn't really show them having any kind of arguments or faults or anything, but I didn't think they were good together at all, right? Like, I did not see any chemistry between these two. You compare it to Atonement, I could see her and James McAvoy together, right? And this one, it seemed like such a bland relationship to me.
Yeah, well, yeah, true.
And then I also, again, going back to kind of how you're talking about, Mark, things not making sense, even when it was the second time he went, and I guess he and the concubine are finally physically together. I didn't even understand that scene, because it seemed like the one he liked had left the room and was waiting on the outside while he was with a different one.
He never even was with the one that he wanted. She passed him off to somebody else, and
I was very confused about that. I didn't get that. Did he think he was with her because he was blindfolded?
don't know, but Kelly Mills just commented if it wasn't even her that he slept with.
Yeah, well, there you go.
On the train with us.
Yeah, well, so because we watched it together, and I didn't understand that. I didn't know. So he cheated on Keira Knightley, but did he think he cheated with the woman he was in love with? That's what I really didn't get that. I'm not even trying to overanalyze it.
I don't think he thought that. I think like the lady passed him off to somebody else. I felt like he was doing it with her, but thinking about the other lady. Like,
so he knew it wasn't the same lady that he was intending
that's how
for.
I took it.
Okay, I didn't know.
Who knows?
So he never got her name. He didn't know anything about her. It was no physical relationship at all, and yet that was the woman he loved the rest of his life. That doesn't make sense to me.
Right, and he traversed all these miles. It upended everything, and then but I felt like at the end it was saying, because Keira Knightley wrote him the letter that he thought was written by the concubine, and then he, like, while he's describing it to the gardener kid, he has this epiphany and was like, I guess I did love her all this time, talking about Keira Knightley. Like, what?
It didn't make any sense. It's like, no, dude, you slept with another. I don't get it.
Well, they almost make Keira Knightley like the perfect woman. Like, she's completely understanding of this, despite knowing that he doesn't really love her, even though he does. I don't know. But it's like he didn't even have to tell her on her deathbed. She didn't even want to know because she already knew, kind of thing.
Right.
That drove me nuts.
Right.
To it.
Yeah.
It's like all is forgiven, and there's no reason, like, based on what we've seen, there's no reason. Like, I could see a universe in which that storyline could be somewhat like done convincingly, where it's like, oh, the wife forgives him for doing this for some other reason. But they were like, had this perfect life and set up this garden and were rich and wealthy at the beginning, and it's like, what's happening here?
Well, in Anna Karenina, that's kind of what happens, where the wife, the sister is asked to, or the brother's wife is asked to forgive. Keira Knightley actually asked her to do that, as don't tear the relationship apart. It's kind of the same thing in a reverse. It's very interesting, actually. I didn't put those two and two together until now, but yeah,
my least favorite part was the end when he said she died a few days before her lilies bloomed.
Yeah.
All right, saccharine much.
Yeah. Right.
No, but again, if you. We all think it was a beautifully shot movie, and I was thinking that the whole time too, because I expected it to be cheap and low budget and whatever. It's not. This is a gorgeous movie. So, and have you guys seen The Red Violin from the same director?
Yes,
I like that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I don't know where this went wrong. I want to say that because I actually like the Japanese. The main man he was kind of dealing with. I liked his character. I liked it when he spoke. I want to say most of this movie falls flat for me is Michael Pitt. I think he was horribly miscast. I don't know that would have been better, but I feel like someone else could have came in with the role and delivered some more panache on those lines and had more chemistry with Keira Knightley.
Yep.
I disagree. I disagree that that's the main problem. I think the main problem is the writing in terms of, like, what is the journey of the hero here? Like, what's the character arc? The character arc makes no sense. Like, we can't even figure out what happened and what he knew was happening and why he wasn't, like, he was driven to Japan to find this woman, even though he had the perfect woman at home. There's a lot of weirdness going on with the writing of it.
I agree. I agree.
But Michael Pitt was also terrible.
Right. I'm saying, I think even with the poor writing, I think if you had a different actor and some chemistry, I think this would have been a much more passable movie.
Yeah.
And maybe all of that combined leads up to being the director's problem, because again, it seemed the only one that I thought even did a good performance was Alfred Molina, and even his lines I thought were kind of weird sometimes. So, but
yeah. Did you feel like, I really thought, and maybe this is what they meant, it's ambiguous to me still, but I thought they were implying that Keira Knightley passed away of a venereal disease that he had given to her from the concubine. But then I don't know if they ever expressly said that.
Oh wow, I never picked up on that.
But she was supposed to be, wasn't she only supposed to be like 35, and then she just like died randomly?
Oh wow, yeah.
But did they say what she had? I didn't know. I
don't think they did. I don't know why I thought that, but I just felt like that was where it was going. And maybe it was just how saintly, like you were saying, Charles, like how perfect of a character she was. I thought they were like, you know, he gave her this disease, and even still, she forgave him by writing.
And that would be a really...
That would make it worse, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how I'd feel about that. I mean, maybe that would make a better movie, but yeah, I'm a little... I don't know. Because then it's like you would really hate his guts, and and it really wouldn't gel with the ending where he's just content with it.
Yeah, true. So we'll say that didn't happen.
And I don't know much about history in the sense of like what was Japan doing in 1860s? What war were they fighting in? Do you guys know? I don't honestly.
No, I don't know.
So I mean, it might have helped. Like I was thinking if I knew the history of that region, maybe, but then they didn't really show up much either. By the way, what happened to the Dutch guy? They had one shot of his glasses kind of cracked. Were they implying that he died in the skirmish, or that the Japanese man killed him? I
don't know. I don't even remember that part, to be honest.
Well, you remember the Dutch guy, right? That he talks to and he sees it's the other guy in the camp, and he's like, the only people here come to buy or sell, and he's like, I'm selling guns. And he's like, oh, I'm buying silkworms, and then that guy, like later on when he's like leaving, he sees in the snow like a crushed up, the glasses are cracked that the Dutch guy wore, and that's the last time we ever saw that character again. And so you know, the Dutch guy kind of warned him, hey, this place is dangerous and all that, and so the next scene you see that, and I assume that he got killed somehow, but I didn't know how or by whom. So
I don't know. I have no idea. That completely passed me by.
Yeah, it just seemed like a loose end to me that they never tied up.
Yeah. But I wondered if I knew more about the history of it, would it make more sense to me?
Maybe.
So.
All right. Well, should we move on to our last pick?
All right.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that transition, Kelley, was as smooth as silk. Okay.
Oh, I think smooth as a silkworm. Okay. In late 19th century Russian high society, St. Petersburg aristocrat Anna Karenina enters into a life-changing affair with the dashing Count Alexei Vronsky.
All right, here's the trailer.
I was 18 when I got married, but it was not love. Your husband is a saint, and we must all cherish him for Russia's sake.
Romantic love will be the last illusion of the old order.
Have you known Count Vronsky long?
He's a rich, good-looking cavalry officer.
Dance with me.
I must warn you about something.
Warn me?
You may, by indiscretion, give the world occasion to talk about you.
This must stop. If you have any thought for me, you will give me back my peace.
There can be no peace for us. Only misery. My greatest happiness.
Oh, so this is love.
We are bound together by God, and this can only be broken by a crime against God.
Something's happened.
Not something, everything.
It would be a sin to help you destroy yourself.
Sensual desire indulged for its own sake is the misuse of something sacred.
The man who can't govern his wife's gone as far as he can go in government.
Anna isn't a criminal, but she broke the rules.
Leave.
Leave my life. She'll be ruined.
Do you think I would let you have my son? You are depraved. A woman without honor. And this is what you want. Do you know what you want?
I love you.
Why?
Can't ask why,
about love.
And there you have Anna Karenina with KEIRA Knightley in the title role, the eponymous Anna Karenina. Kelley, explain yourself. Why is this ugly?
Okay, so I will confess that I don't hate this movie. It's not anywhere near as ugly as for instance, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. Like, it's kind of a different style of ugly for me.
Or Little Nicky.
No, we shall not speak of Little Nicky. I don't know. It's so hard to find a KEIRA Knightley movie, like a KEIRA Knightley period piece.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So bad that it's good. Like, I thought about. Have either of you seen A Dangerous Method?
Yes, I have.
No,
and actually, I really kind of thought that was going to be one of your picks.
It almost was. I almost picked that as ugly because I don't know. I just didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
The spanking scenes alone.
Yeah, no. But ultimately, like, this movie, I just can't decide. Like, I kind of like it and I kind of dislike it, and I appreciate certain things about it, but ultimately it really frustrates me. Like, I like the art of it. I really like, as you alluded to, Charles, I really like Joe Wright's direction. He directed this, he directed Atonement and Pride and Prejudice, and I think I really like just the way that he visualizes things and the way that his movies feel unique. They feel they do a great job of paying homage to earlier periods, but they also feel very fresh and as if I don't know. I really like his style. His movies are always very stylish, and this movie kind of dials that up to 11. It's almost too stylized for me. Like, I don't know if what a Russian drama written by Tolstoy needed was to become more operatic and more like kind of inaccessible. I just
to that end though, I did wonder, like, so I have not read the original story. Have either of you?
Mm-hmm.
No, just tell. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Kelley has. I have not. It's like super long.
So
not that you shouldn't read super long books, but
well, I understand it's a classic and all that. But what I wondered is, was it ever adapted to the theater, like for an opera? Because I wondered if that's why Joe Wright is doing it in this style, because it's very like theatrical. Like it's like to the point where they're seeing all the action on stage and people are gathered around it, and it made me wonder if he's adapting it from that source rather than the actual novel. But I don't know, because I can't find any evidence of that. So it seems like he's just going with this crazy blend of like cinema as it would have been during that period. Like, well, to me, closest to it.
To me, that motif was cool because at the heart of this story is this individualistic woman who falls in love with another man and being married, and she comes in stark contrast with the social world and everybody peering at her, and she goes to this. Was it an opera she goes to and thinking it'll be okay with everyone knowing, she's a mistress. She thinks she'll be okay. And obviously things are not okay. And so I like throughout the film that kind of theater, because it is the theater of her life, like of this audience looking in at her. And, she's not allowed to be as much of an individual as she thinks she can handle. I think that's really apropos to today's time. That we think we have pretty thick skin, but if we get trolled online, I guarantee most of us will just fold. And we've got a lot of that going on today with social media.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
But I really so I'm a fan of Baz Luhrmann as well, and this kind of felt in line with that, with the stuff he's done with classics and reimagining them. And I love the dance scene when they first meet and dance, and everybody's like stopping and going as they spin by, as if time has stopped for them. But I think that this is I'm more the target audience for this kind of movie, because I love these over stylized versions, and I love literature, and Tolstoy I'm a big fan of Tolstoy as well.
I really liked it.
Well,
I liked it a lot. Like, I liked the visual style of it. In fact, I want to say it won for art direction at the Oscars, but if not, it was nominated. But I liked this movie a lot. And as I said earlier, I think I like it and enjoy it more than Atonement. There's it's kind of, you know, talking about what we were mentioning earlier. It's British people in Russia, but they have British accents, and I'm okay with that for some reason. Again, just because I guess it sounds enough of a foreign thing to me that I'm just, you know, I'm okay with that. Now, if they had all been doing American accents, I would think it would have bothered me. So
yeah,
is that how you kind of felt too, Kelley? Like, Kelley, like, you're okay with them because they're British?
I'm more okay with it than I was in Silk, but it did kind of bug me a little bit.
Would you rather they had like Russian accents but speaking English?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I felt that way at certain times, especially like for some reason I wanted Jude Law to have a Russian accent. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I did. I just see the way they had him look and you know, okay, he's gonna have a Russian accent, and he didn't. He just had Jude Law's accent, but I was okay with it.
I do like Jude Law a lot in this. I don't really, I mean, we've just been talking about how amazing KEIRA Knightley is. I think I liked her performance, but I don't like her in the role. Like, I think they should not have cast her, and I don't exactly know why, but she just didn't seem to, I don't know. I just didn't like her in the character, and I really didn't like Aaron Taylor Johnson as Vronsky.
Yeah.
He was like, I think in terms of casting, he was the one that really is questionable for me. I like him as an actor. This sounds petty, but I was watching it with my wife and with Toby, and they just could not stop talking about his mustache. and I think that's part of it. Like, I think his mustache was weird. It's creepy, and I don't know. I that may be,
yeah. I
don't know. He didn't come across as super charming to me. He came across as more like a playboy, kind of creepy, kind of cheesy, and yes. So that didn't really fit what I assumed the character should be, right? But having said that, I did feel there was more chemistry there between him and KEIRA Knightley as opposed to what we saw in Silk, where Michael Pitt just felt flat to me.
I agree with that. I mean, I do think they have better chemistry than in Silk, but I don't think they have as good of chemistry as she has with James McAvoy in Atonement.
I 100% agree with that. Yeah, exactly.
Or
Yeah, but I love Jude Law's character in this. I thought all the characters were really well written, and all the different storylines paid off in different ways. There wasn't really anything left hanging, and it was entertaining, not only from a visual perspective and cinematically and the way it was directed and all that, but it just, I never knew exactly what was going to happen, but nothing felt too crazy to me.
And to successfully do that with a book as complex as Anna Karenina is pretty impressive as well. Because Tolstoy uses a lot of kind of mind jumping, which frustrates me that writers are told not to do it, but all of the great writers do it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But he'll show different characters, like, what was his name? Levin, the guy that played one of the Ron's brothers in Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
The cool thing about that directorially is that everybody except his character and those scenes with him outside reaping the grass, all of the other scenes were filmed inside on the same set. Because he wanted them to feel all very confined in their life, but Levin was kind of free, and the lesson he learned at the end. In fact, I love that last line when he said, "Was it reason that made you fall in love with your wife?" or something along those lines. And he has this epiphany and goes and talks to his wife. That was really powerful.
Yeah,
and all the casting. You mentioned him; he's great in this movie. I'm blanking on her name. The lady that plays the lady he eventually marries. She's
Alicia
great.
Vikander.
Yes, she's great. She's an Oscar winner now. A lot of these people in this movie, when it came out in 2012, they weren't as popular or as famous as they are now. Now you go back and look, it's like all the stuff they've been in. It was just really, really well casted, really well done, I think.
That's my thing. Like, I agree with a lot of these points that you're making, but at the same time, I feel like I have read the book, and I felt like this was very confusing. Like, even having read it, I was really I was struggling to keep up with who was what. Like, they did not, I think they I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I was on the struggle bus watching this, and I didn't feel like, and there was so much to cram into one movie because I mean this is an incredibly lengthy work, but I didn't feel like they gave us enough with why she would throw away everything to be with Vronsky. Like their chemistry was pretty good, but is that supposed to be the end all be all of it? Like I didn't. In Atonement, you get such limited scenes with Cecilia and Robbie, and yet they pack so much emotion and so much subtlety into all the looks and the tension and the things that are not said that you completely understand it without having to be told every little thing about their relationship. But I don't feel like that was done.
Yeah. My take on this is, and maybe I'm way off on this, I kind of saw her as being like this immature character who really didn't know what she wanted 1 minute from the next. Like she couldn't make up her mind on stuff, and like it may have been a total lust thing, and that's all it was. But it was enough of a contrast to what she perceived as being boring social life, being married to someone high up in the Russian government, and you know they really alluded to a few times when they tried to pull out that, I guess, whatever type of condom it was, where they'd pull it out and have to put it back. They alluded they had absolutely no sexual chemistry anymore at all. And so that's how I took it, that she just was lusting after someone and just really didn't know what she wanted, because sometimes she was really, it was all about her son and couldn't leave without him, and then other times it was like tell him bye kind of thing, like, you know. And that's they made her character almost seem petty in a few scenes. And then as I said earlier, when she has to go and talk to her brother's wife and is basically blaming the wife if the marriage falls apart, it's not because he cheated, it's because you're choosing to let this. And it's like I just, those type of things in her character, just I didn't really like her character. It's not that she performed it poorly, I just didn't like the character. And but again, I think that's how it was written.
Yeah, she's hard to empathize with, but I think that's probably the intention in terms of the complexity of why would she, and she probably thinks at one point this is true love and decides it's good enough to leave and that she can survive it.
But I mean, they even have that argument. She's, is yelling at him after seemingly she's got exactly what she wanted, and then she thinks he doesn't love her anymore, and it's like they're arguing and they're fighting, and I don't even know if really she was accusing him of going out with another woman and all that, and I don't know if that was even really true, if he was really going out to cheat on her or not. Like, I don't know. I was a little confused about that.
Yeah. I definitely, I mean, I think you're completely correct. Like, I think that is how the character is supposed to be. I mean, she is immature. She's flighty. She's vain. She's haughty. She's all these things. She's almost like a Russian Scarlett O'Hara. Like, she's not extremely likable. And maybe that's why it bugs me a little bit to imagine KEIRA Knightley in this role, because even though she acts it really well, that's just not KEIRA Knightley. Like, she's always the intelligent heroine who is, brings this ferocity to everything, and she's just very winsome, and this is not a winsome character. It's not, right. No, KEIRA, why? But
winsome, that's the perfect word to describe her, and I knew you would have it, Kelley. What did you call Liv Tyler? Tremulous a while back. I was like, oh, that's it. That's the perfect dang word, and I couldn't come up with it. But Kelley, I was going to defend your point earlier, because you said you had trouble following some of the moving parts. I did too, especially with the Russian names, and there's a lot of fast dialogue. But I feel like the emotion of each scene comes through, because I was having trouble with what was happening, and then at the dance scene, and then when they start dancing together, I figured, oh, okay, now I get it, right? These two are in love, and that's the main central core emotionally of this scene. So I feel like the style carried me through all of these moving parts that were hard to follow. And I was along for the ride, because I figured it would clear up. I would get it in the next scene of what really is important here.
Speaking of words, I said well casted earlier, and I don't know, it would be well cast or well casted. I don't know. I think I used it wrong. Anyway.
You did, and I withheld my judgment and
I figured you're talking about words. It's going to come up. Charles. No, I'm going to. I had to. So it should just be well cast. Anyway.
Oh, I was going to say there's a really cool podcast about I think in, what was it, Somalia. There's somebody in a prison, And this book apparently saved their life because this other prisoner was allowed to check out a few books, and Anna Karenina was the one he grabbed because it was the longest, and he was in prison. And they developed like this made up Morse code type, like with each other. And so this guy actually Morse coded the entire book of Anna Karenina unabridged to his next door cellmate who was in more trouble than he was, and apparently it kept him alive and kept him sane. And it's called the podcast is called Anna in Somalia. If y'all want to look it up. Anyway,
that is crazy.
Really cool.
That's really cool though.
So yeah. Any other notes to discuss for our final movie?
I don't. It was so interesting to me to see, because this was 7 years after Pride and Prejudice, and obviously Keira Knightley was in Pride and Prejudice with Matthew Macfadyen. Matthew Macfadyen is in this, but playing her brother instead of her love interest, and that was just like a really bizarre thing for me to see.
It was funny,
but I liked him.
But he did really cool.
I liked him a lot in the movie.
Yeah, he showed his range because he was like kind of the quirky comedic relief in this movie.
You know, this movie was almost like a musical without the singing. Like there was a lot of when he would come through and like be dancing around there, putting his coat on and stuff. It was the choreography was fantastic, I thought.
Especially in the beginning, like with the barber and everything.
Yeah.
The beginning is very, beginning is very much that way.
Nice. I think, that was great.
Well,
all right. Are y'all, you ready for me to drop my picks for the next episode? Okay. So this has been something I've wanted to do for a long time. It was one of the first topics that occurred to me when I joined as a co-host. We are going to do dinosaur movies.
Dang, that was going to be one of my picks coming up. Not my next one, but
let me refine it, because we're going to do live action dinosaur movies, right? That feature live action people and practical dinosaur effects.
Oh man, okay. I may have to do that topic again soon, because that's exactly how I was going to redefine it. Dang it.
We can do a double. Let's see.
Yeah, but it won't be the next one. My next one, I've got my next one. So, but
yeah. Okay, so the picks are 1990, a nymphoid barbarian in dinosaur hell. Yeah. 1995, Jurassic Park, the original.
93.
Of course.
Is it 93? Okay, I had written that I couldn't quite read the number. Okay. And then 1997, Future War. Okay. Both my first and third pick are free on YouTube. If that tells you anything. So it's I apologize in advance. These are it's one of those picks where there's one that kind of floats to the top, and the other two are really really digging at the bottom of the barrel here.
Man, we have to I'll redo it, man. Only one of mine was the same as your pick, so the other two are but that is not going to be my next one.
Which one could it be, Charles?
Well, it had to have been an nymphoid barbarian and dinosaur hell.
You'd be surprised, maybe. I don't know.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that.
And I'm not going to say mine yet, because mine obviously is going to be next time. I will say that I texted you guys this earlier. My wife is wanting me to apologize way in advance for my genre and my picks. She could not sit through the movies. Had to excuse herself. And I will give you one more clue. You guys remember the clue last week?
That it was kind of horror, kind of not?
Well, one was Japanese. At least one was Japanese.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
And I'll give you another clue. At least one of these movies is from the 70s.
Okay. Not much to go on there.
I know. It's really not.
Yowington.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to finally share that with you guys, although I do think you're going to hate me. I'm really excited to watch your dinosaur picks, Mark, although I'm kind of bummed you beat me to the punch on it, but...
Wait, how many years have we been doing this? Have you been doing this? You had your chance.
I did. But the thing is,
Touché.
What made me, there's a movie that came out. Well, it's an older movie, but anyway, originally it was very heavily censored. They finally came out with the uncensored version just recently, and that made me want to do dinosaur picks. But I'm not going to tell you what that movie was. Anyway,
We should do. We should just all three do like we did with literature with book adaptations. We should just all do dinosaur movies.
Perhaps,
Kelley can do animated.
Perhaps we should do that, but I definitely want to do. I definitely want to do my other piece first. By the way, Kelley, are you going to go after me again? Is that the plan? So you can still catch up. After I do my October one. Okay. We'll see, because I don't know what we're doing for November, but we're doing in November we're doing an election one, so it'll probably be December for you if you want to redo it. But
okay.
Yeah. And what else do we have coming up on the stream? So is it Micah's? Is Micah doing his?
Supposedly, allegedly. I gotta get in touch with him. But Topher and I are gonna do another episode of 50/50 in 2 weeks. We'll be talking about The Creeping Terror and Forrest Gump.
Cool.
I love these matchups.
Yeah.
Greatness.
Yeah.
And then, and we will be, again, it depends on Micah and his wife, Laura, what they're going to be doing. But we will be, Topher, Kelley, and I will be doing the Hannibal Lecter books. Really excited for that. So who knows if Micah and them, because I don't know, it's supposed to be pretty soon if they have some episodes up and ready. And if they don't, we may just go ahead and start gearing up for ours and kind of switch some things around. We'll see. But I'm really excited.
Cool.
All right, you got the outro, Mark?
Stuff coming around the pike.
I do. And outro is that you can catch us live on Facebook or listen to the replay on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and YouTube by searching Good Bad Podcast, all one word, or head on over to our website, itsjustawesome.com. But wherever you check us out, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really does help. And I have been Markington McShakespeareton.
And I'm just plain old Kelley Ernst.
And I'm just Charles today. No meowing.
We'll see y'all next time.
All right. Have
Thanks,
a good
guys.
one, guys.
Bye.